Hello and welcome to CVR News Network. You're watching CVR English, and these are the details in the world 360. A round of frigid temperatures is sweeping across much of the United States this week, bringing dangerously cold conditions to millions and setting the stage for the widespread disruptions. At least 14 people have died in the aftermath of the flooding, including 12 in Kentucky, where extensive damage has left many communities struggling to recover. By Friday, about three-quarters of the US population is expected to experience below freezing conditions. The Arctic air mass will plunge temperatures as much as 50 degrees below February averages, threatening to break more than 270 temperature records across at least 27 states. The Arctic air mass will plunge temperatures as much as 50 degrees below February averages, threatening to break more than 270 temperature records across at least 27 states. European leaders insisted Monday they must have a say in international talks to end the war in Ukraine, despite the clear message from both Washington and Moscow that there was no role for them as yet in negotiation that could shape the future of the continent. 3 hours of emergency talks at Elysee Palace in Paris left the leaders of Germany, the United Kingdom, Italy, Poland, Spain and the Netherlands, Denmark, NATO and the European Union without a common view on possible peacekeeping troops after a US diplomatic blitz on Ukraine last week threw a once solid transatlantic alliance into turmoil.
Europe must play its role, and I'm prepared to consider committing British forces on the ground alongside others if there is a lasting peace agreement. But there must be a US backstop, because a US security guarantee is the only way to effectively deter Russia from attacking Ukraine again.
Hier wird über die Köpfe der Ukraine hinweg über das Ergebnis von Friedensgesprächen, die nicht stattgefunden haben und bei denen die Ukraine nicht Ja gesagt hat und nicht am Tisch gesessen hat, über mögliche Varianten von Ergebnissen gesprochen. Das ist höchst unangemessen, um es ganz offen und ehrlich zu sagen.
I am very concerned about making a fast ceasefire because it can actually give Putin and Russia a better possibility to go back to Russia and to re-ramp and to mobilize again, attack Ukraine or...
Europe must play its role, and I'm prepared to consider committing British forces on the ground alongside others if there is a lasting peace agreement. But there must be a US backstop, because a US security guarantee is the only way to effectively deter Russia from attacking Ukraine again.
Hier wird über die Köpfe der Ukraine hinweg über das Ergebnis von Friedensgesprächen, die nicht stattgefunden haben und bei denen die Ukraine nicht Ja gesagt hat und nicht am Tisch gesessen hat, über mögliche Varianten von Ergebnissen gesprochen. Das ist höchst unangemessen, um es ganz offen und ehrlich zu sagen.
I am very concerned about making a fast ceasefire because it can actually give Putin and Russia a better possibility to go back to Russia and to re-ramp and to mobilize again, attack Ukraine or...
Europe must play its role, and I'm prepared to consider committing British forces on the ground alongside others.
After an emergency summit with the European leaders, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said that US backstop is the only way effectively deter Russia from attacking Ukraine again. Any peace deal for Ukraine must safeguard its sovereignty and deter Russian leader Vladimir Putin from engaging in further aggression in the future.
I want to thank President Macron for convening us this evening. At stake is not just the future of Ukraine, it is an existential question for Europe as a whole, and therefore vital for Britain's national interest. This is a once-in-a-generation moment for the collective security of our continent. Only a lasting peace in Ukraine that safeguards its sovereignty will deter Putin from further aggression in the future. In this moment, we have to recognise the new era that we are in, not cling hopelessly to the comforts of the past. It's time for us to take responsibility for our security, for our continent. And I've been clear today, Britain will take a leading responsibility, as we always have, because Ukraine must have a secure future, Europe must have a secure future, Britain must have a secure future, and democratic values must prevail. I want to thank President Macron for convening us this evening.
That was the visual that was posted on the official account of Prime Minister Keir Starmer. On the other hand, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrived in Saudi capital of Riyadh on Monday after his trip to Israel. He is leading a delegation to the kingdom for the direct talks with Russian officials on ending Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. The trip to Saudi comes ahead of expected talks with Russian officials aimed at ending Moscow's nearly 3-year war in Ukraine. The talks come after President Donald Trump's last week speaking to Russian President Vladimir Putin by phone and ordered top officials to begin negotiations on the war, which he repeatedly vowed to end during his presidential campaign. Riyadh, which is also involved in talks with Washington over the future of the Gaza Strip, has played a role in early contacts between the Trump administration, which took office on Jan 20th, and Moscow, helping to secure a prisoner swap last week. Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman received U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Riyadh. Saudi media reported on Monday the first visit by the U.S. official in his new position. Rubio is in Saudi Arabia for talks with Russia on Ukraine. Russia's foreign minister Sergei Lavrov said the talks could focus on ending the war in Ukraine and restoring border ties. Riyadh, which is also involved in talks with Washington over the future of the Gaza Strip, has played a role in early contacts between the Trump administration, which took office on Jan 20th, and Moscow, helping to secure the ceasefire agreements.
And as you believe, we have a lot of things to talk about, bilateral and also in the region and other areas. So we would like to work with you and with President Trump and the administration. I believe we can work positively for Saudi Arabia as America, and also for many countries around the world. So you know.
Your Highness, Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor.
We will definition of my short answer. I believe he like the director of for me, having a friend in the short period, but he's a amazing person, and I believe, as you know, he doesn't mean much. Thank you, very good to have you today. And as you believe, we have a lot of things to talk about, bilateral and also in the region and other areas. So we would like to work with you and with President Trump and the administration. I believe we can work positively for Saudi Arabia as America, and also for many countries around the world. So you know.
Your Highness, Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor.
We will definition of my short answer. I believe he like the director of for me, having a friend in the short period, but he's a amazing person, and I believe, as you know, he doesn't mean much. Thank you, sir. Very good to have you today. And as you believe, we have a lot of things to talk about, bilateral and also in the region and other areas. So we would like to work with you and with President Trump and the administration. I believe we can work positively for Saudi Arabia as America, and also for many countries around the world. So you know.
Your Highness, Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor.
Top Russian and American officials met in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday to begin talks on improving ties and negotiating to end the war in Ukraine. The meeting at the Diriyah Palace in Riyadh marks another pivotal step by Trump administration to reverse U.S. policy and isolating Russia, and is meant to pave the way for meeting the U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Trump earlier this month upended U.S. policy towards Ukraine and Russia by saying he and Putin had agreed to begin negotiations on ending the war. Ukraine taking part in the meeting, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Monday that his country won't accept the outcome if Kiev doesn't take part.
Thank you.
Российское мы видим, что здесь Лавров и помощник президента Юрий Ушаков. Российские мы видим, что есть Сергей Лавров и помощник президента Юрий Ушаков. Наверное, есть
A major plane crash at Toronto Airport made headlines when a Delta Airlines CRJ 900 aircraft crashed, injuring 18 of the 80 passengers on board. The regional jet flipped upside down during the landing amid windy conditions following a snowstorm. Authorities said earlier that 3 of the injured, including a child, suffered critical injuries. During a press briefing on the accident, Toronto Pearson Fire Chief Todd Atkin confirmed that runway was dry and there were no crosswinds, putting the rest to speculation after the tragic incident. He added that the cause of the crash is still under investigation by the Transportation Safety Board. The tragic accident caused a major disruption at the airport. Toronto Airport was shut down for more than 2 hours before departures and arrivals resumed. Canadian authorities said that they would investigate the cause of the crash, which remains unknown.
We can now confirm that 18 injured passengers have been transported to the local area hospitals. As the runway was dry and there was no crosswind condition.
Injuring 18 of the 80 people on board, including the crew members. The regional jet flipped upside down during landing amid windy conditions following a snowstorm. Authorities said earlier that 3 of the injured, including a child, suffered critical injuries. During a press briefing on the accident, putting to rest the speculation after the tragic incident. He added that the cause of the crash is still under investigation by the Transportation Safety Board.
Appropriate for us to comment at this time. At this time, we believe all our emergency response went as planned. We will, however, be conducting a review. This is an active investigation. It's very early on. It's really important that we do not speculate. What we can say is the runway was dry and there was no crosswind conditions. We can now confirm that 18 injured passengers have been transported to the local area hospitals. We had 1 additional passenger recently transported to a hospital.
We would also like to thank other GTA police services that are assisting us today.
To the local area hospitals. We had 1 additional passenger recently transported to a hospital.
We would also like to thank other GTA police services that are assisting us today.
Pope Francis, 88, missed Mass on February 16 due to a treatment for a respiratory infection. Cardinal Jose Tolentino del Mendonca led a prayer for the Pope's recovery, expressing gratitude for his vision and support. The Pope has been suffering from bronchitis for over a week and received treatment at Rome's Gemelli Hospital. The Vatican announced that the Pope was prescribed complete rest for recovery and will stay in the hospital as necessary.
Nel nome del Padre e del Figlio e dello Spirito Santo. Amen. La pace sia con voi. E con il tuo spirito. Compre omissioni, per mia colpa. Il nostro primo pensiero va a Papa Francesco. Preghiamo per la sua salute. Ringraziamo la visione, il sostegno che lui ci offre sempre. Fratelli e sorelle, la bellezza che salva e luciamo i nostri peccati. Viviamo in un'epoca in cui nuovi muri si alzano, in cui le differenze diventano pretesto per la divisione, anziché occasione di arricchimento reciproco. Ma voi, uomini e donne di cultura, siete chiamati a costruire ponti, a creare spazi di incontro e dialogo, a illuminare le menti e a scaldare i cuori.
Andiamo. Ida.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, buona domenica. Dall'altra parte Gesù interviene facendo riempire 6 grandi anfore. A tutti auguro buona domenica e per favore non dimenticatevi di pregare per me. Buon pranzo e arrivederci.
Israeli military troops have withdrawn from southern Lebanon villages, but 5 key locations remain under Israeli control, violating the ceasefire deal. While Israel claims these areas are a buffer zone, they are a part of Lebanese territory. Residents of South Lebanese villages returned to their homes amid Lebanese army deployment in broader villages and areas vacated by Israeli troops, and as a withdrawal deadline expires under a truce between Israel and Hezbollah. And areas vacated by Israeli troops, and as a withdrawal deadline expires under a truce between Israel and Hezbollah. That's the end of the World 360. Stay tuned to CVR News English.